you followed my Bridging Worlds article, you'll remember the central idea: a world where banks, blockchains, and fully regulated stablecoins finally converge. What's remarkable is that something which once felt merely theoretical is now beginning to take shape right in front of us. In Bridging Worlds, I outlined a speculative scenario in which networks like Ripple, Stellar, IBM's corporate infrastructure, and Stronghold's regulated rails no longer operated in isolation. I argued that real transformation would come from an intermediary layer, one capable of translating the language of traditional banking while also speaking fluently to blockchains and regulated issuers. A hybrid layer, part financial, part technological, and crucially, fully compliant. In that article, I identified four essential pillars. First, the ISO 2022 standard as a universal language for modern payments, capable of connecting banking messages with on-chain operations. Second, the need for an architecture able to convert ISO messages into real movements of value, whether in fiat currency, stablecoins issued on Stellar, assets launched on Ethereum, or tokens within enterprise-grade ledgers. Third, the importance of true settlement, with real money reaching real accounts, a capability only regulated operators can genuinely deliver. And fourth, a compliance layer robust enough to allow this interoperability to exist within sensitive, supervised markets, without sacrificing security or regulatory oversight. At the time, I wrote that very few entities in the sector possessed the right combination to fulfill this role, and Stronghold appeared uniquely positioned to do so. Since then, events have begun to align with this vision, almost as if the conceptual map laid out in Bridging Worlds were starting to come alive. IBM has officially re-entered the digital asset space with Digital Asset Haven, an enterprise infrastructure designed to manage tokenized assets across more than 40 blockchains. And just as before, IBM does not move money because it does not hold the license to do so, which means Haven necessarily depends on regulated partners, able to settle fiat, interoperate with stablecoins, and guarantee compliance. In Bridging Worlds, I wrote that if IBM returned to this domain, it would require three things: banking connectivity, hybrid settlement, and ISO 2022 compatibility. Today, that is precisely what we see. Digital Asset Haven describes a system that depends on operators performing exactly what Stronghold has already done during the WorldWire project: fiat settlement, integration with institutional-grade stablecoins, banking rails, and translation between traditional systems and digital networks. There is no confirmed partnership, but the technical alignment is far too clear to ignore. And then the missing piece emerges. The OCC, the United States banking regulator, recently issued guidance allowing national banks to use blockchain networks and fully collateralized stablecoins for payments, settlement, and deposit representation. Put simply, banks can now operate within hybrid systems where money exists both as traditional fiat and as tokenized value, exactly the model I described in Bridging Worlds. But there is more. The guidance makes it clear that banks require specialized operators to bridge these environments, someone capable of integrating blockchains, ISO 2022 messaging, fiat settlement, and regulated stablecoins. And that role is precisely the space Stronghold occupies. And then there is Japan, where this entire picture becomes even sharper. JPYC has become the first entity to receive approval to launch a regulated yen-pegged stablecoin, one whose reserves may include Japanese government bonds. That gives it genuine institutional weight. But this equation always requires one final component: a bank. And that is where Mina no Ginko enters, a digital-first institution that fully understands the inevitable convergence between traditional rails and regulated digital payments. In Stronghold's recent official video, Sean Bennett confirmed precisely this direction. Stronghold is returning to international payments, not through proprietary stablecoins, but through partnerships with regulated issuers and licensed banks, exactly as I described in Bridging Worlds. When I wrote Bridging Worlds, I was mapping out a possible future, a speculative vision, yes, but grounded in technical reality. Today, many of those points are no longer theoretical. They're materializing, steadily and with remarkable precision. It's too early to claim certainties, but it's impossible to ignore how closely what was predicted now echoes what is actually happening. If you want to follow these connections as they take shape, join me on X.